Hello to all of you wonderful moms out there. Have you ever felt that nagging sensation that you're meant for a different job? Something that's a little more in sync with who you actually are. But then the thought of making a career change feels completely daunting. Or maybe you found yourself staring at your computer and imagining a different career path or life trajectory. But then you quickly shut those thoughts out because, first of all, where would you even start? How could you even possibly take on all of that risk? Well, I'm Anoki Kapasi, a scientific researcher, a business owner, and a homeschooling mom of 2 boys. And today we're going to talk about all of this because this is something that I hear from so many high-achieving moms. They ask the question of how they can pivot in their careers with confidence, especially when you kind of feel trapped or stuck on the path that you're on. So in the spirit of Halloween today, I'll be addressing all of those fears head on. Now, when it comes to these fears and mental blocks surrounding career shifts, they commonly fall into about 8 buckets. And so I'm going to actually address all of those 8 ones, but I'm going to do one per Friday for the next 8 Fridays. So today I'll walk you through how to take bold action in your career so that it is moving you towards this vision that you have for your life. And you can do this even with the beautiful chaos of motherhood that is your backdrop. So let's dive into the powerful mindset shifts supported by my most favorite and powerful tool that's going to help you turn your ideal life into your real life. Are you looking for a way to blend success and motherhood without losing sight of who you are? I get it. I've been there too. Hi, I'm Anoki, a PhD researcher, business owner, and homeschooling mom of 2 boys. As your life coach, I help moms like you create a life you love at home and at work. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed, overscheduled, and overlooked, and want a clear roadmap to a balanced life, a meaningful career, and finally feeling like yourself again while being the awesome mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this journey to create the life you truly desire, it's time to rediscover your dreams and achieve your ambitious mom life. Before we start, I want to make sure that you tap the follow button by subscribing to the show. It'll appear on your playlist automatically every week, and you'll save yourself a lot of time instead of hunting down the episodes. Okay, now back to the show. When it comes to making a really big change or pivot in our lives as moms, the stakes can feel so much higher than they did before we became moms, because now we have many other people that could be affected by any one decision that we make. Now, I personally have made many different personal and professional pivots in my life, things like moving or changing careers multiple times, changing fields of study. It's even possible to have pivots in relationships and projects. I actually talked about a lot of my personal pivots in an earlier episode about resets with confidence, and I'm going to link that in the show notes. But I want to share one specific pivot that I made a couple years ago. See, I was at a career crossroads, I guess you could say, and I had really spent many, many years building my academic credentials. I had a real clear path in the world of scientific consulting. But I was starting to feel increasingly drawn to supporting academically minded women, these high-achieving women that were like me, who prioritized their families, but at the same time, they still felt this tug to continue to exercise their full potential. They wanted to be able to exercise all of their skills so that they could create more impact, even more than just within the 4 walls of their home. Now, while most of us think of our families as our most important projects, all the reasons that we continue to and will always prioritize our families, that doesn't mean that it's an either-or selection. You can continue to pursue whatever your ambitions are. There is a balanced way that you can find happiness and fulfillment in multiple domains of your life during motherhood. For me, there was a real fear surrounding even the consideration that I might do something other than what I had a degree in, for example. Now, I do continue my scientific consulting career, but I have found a way to blend other ambitions that I have and passions that I have. Like other highly trained professionals, I had invested so much of my time, so much of my life developing this academic identity. I could talk about my work with my eyes closed. I was really well networked, and basically people were offering jobs to me, and so I didn't really have to seek out the job. And so the thought of being a solopreneur starting my own online business, and life coaching women so that they could experience the same transformation that I had successfully experienced for myself, raised a lot of questions in my mind. What if no one wanted my coaching services? What if I couldn't even make it financially viable while I'm still trying to raise my kids, right? What if I regretted not doubling down in my scientific career or regretted going down the life as a solopreneur? So I figured out how to use life planning to create a framework for this transition. First, I got really clear on what my core values are. I realized what kind of impact I wanted to impart. I knew that flexibility was a real priority in my life. And I also started to hone in on the skills that I wanted to use. I also created clear financial parameters so that I would know exactly what success looked like in concrete terms at this point in my life. And then I started to basically run a bunch of little experiments. That is really natural to me being a scientist, but every time I made one more step towards this new career, I was basically running a pilot project, and I would start gathering data. And essentially I was testing my assumptions about whether I would enjoy the work and whether there was even a market demand around what I thought I could offer women. As I started getting a little more inner momentum towards this career change, I started to set up systems so that I could work even in imperfect conditions. Now, the transition wasn't perfect or even linear. There were definitely moments where I doubted things. I've had a lot of setbacks, but the life planning framework really gave me confidence because I wasn't making a decision that was based on just emotion or I felt like this pressure to do something different. I was following a values-based roadmap, and I had experimentation built in so that I could make these micro adjustments based on what felt right to me. So today, I've created a business that aligns perfectly well with my values, and it's giving me much more flexibility that my family now enjoys. And now I use these same life planning principles with my clients who are navigating their own pivots. So as I said, over the next 8 weeks, I'm basically going to lay out these common challenges that I hear from many ambitious moms who are considering their own career change. Because I think that one or more of these are likely to be what you are also struggling with too. And so I'm talking about things like guilt, lack of clarity, confidence, overwhelm, fear of failure, feeling like things might be too risky, right? So if you're nodding along to any one of these things, I want you to know that you're not alone, that these challenges are precisely why so many brilliant, capable moms seem to stay stuck in situations that don't really serve them any longer, despite the fact that they have so much to offer the world. And so I'm going to show you how to shift your thinking on each one of these and how life planning is really going to become your secret weapon anytime you're going through a life transition, but especially during a career change. But first, I want you to consider what happens when we stay stuck. What's the real cost of remaining in this place of misalignment or indecision? Well, first of all, there's the emotional and mental health impact. That persistent feeling of being in the wrong place creates this background hum of stress it never quite goes away. You might feel dissatisfied in your life and career, and then you're just going to start feeling anxious about it. You might even snap or get depressed even. And so this isn't just a decision that we're trying to make so that we can have a fulfilling career. Of course, that is one of the drivers. But the thing is that if you don't pursue it, there's a cost. And that cost takes a toll on your well-being, especially mental. Now, ironically, staying in a state of indecision is often what creates more stress than the actual action taking itself. Now, taking action can take some bravery, of course, but that mental loop where you keep asking yourself, should I or shouldn't I? Should I or shouldn't I? Well, that kind of consumes an enormous amount of mental energy. And that is energy that you could have directed somewhere else, right? So that decision fatigue is real. It really depletes us and sometimes our resources that we would need to put towards other things, including towards our family. To that end, our decisions have a ripple effect on our family, but also not making a decision can have a ripple effect. And this applies to being in a state of limbo, but also when you are in a state of dissatisfaction or not feeling fulfilled. Now, children are incredibly perceptive, right? So they're going to sense when we're just going through the motions, staying in autopilot, versus when we're actually genuinely engaged and energized. And so when we stay misaligned, we're actually inadvertently modeling the wrong thing for our kids. We're teaching them to settle rather than pursuing what lights us up. And then there is also an opportunity cost of not pursuing work that is in sync with us. Every day that we spend in work that's not utilizing our strengths or doesn't move us towards our purpose, that's a day that we could have been building something meaningful. We could have been creating impact. We could have been doing what we were put on this earth for. And yes, potentially greater financial rewards as well might be on the other end when we follow these opportunities. And perhaps most surprisingly, playing it safe can actually be the riskier path long term. So in today's rapidly changing world, being adaptable is actually a form of security. We have this inherent tendency as human beings to avoid pain. And so most change comes along with some level of discomfort. So I can understand why people shy away from that. But by not changing, you can actually become more vulnerable and less resilient in the long term. So what I'm trying to say is that remaining stuck isn't really a neutral state. It's actively costly. It costs your mental health, your family's being out of a real experience with you, the world is deprived of our potential impact, and possibly even our own long-term security is at risk. So then, if staying stuck isn't the answer, what is? How do you move forward when the obstacles just feel so overwhelming? So the fear that we're going to address today is when you're feeling stuck in a career that no longer aligns with who you are, your values, your lifestyle, the things that you want now that you're a mom. What once sort of felt exciting is now feeling like it's draining you, but you've invested so many years building the skills, the certifications, the reputation in this particular field of work that considering a change is quite overwhelming. So the mindset shift that I want you to consider is that those things aren't trapping you into your career. You don't have to stay in your career just because you've studied that field of work for so long, or that's what your degree says that you're capable of. You have to understand that your career is just one component of your life. And so you can design your life to be whatever you need it to be. And that life plan, that design can evolve as you evolve. And so the crux of this shift is recognizing that your career isn't your full identity. It's just one expression of your skills and your values. And so when I mean that your career can evolve with you, I mean that if you want to move towards a different direction, there are so many ways to either transfer your existing skills or to supplement them. So the first step is really giving yourself permission to make that change. And then you're going to get the clarity on who you are. What do you stand for? What's important to you? And so for that, life planning is really going to be key. So maybe a good comparison is like when you're moving houses, right? You don't want to move houses like every other month. It takes a lot of effort to find the right house, to gather the financial resources to purchase a house, to move in, live in, make it your own, right? It takes a while to settle in. But that doesn't mean you have to stay in the same house your whole life, right? You don't have to even move to another house that is at all the same as your previous house. If you do move, you could move into a totally different house, a totally different town with totally different features, right? And the same is true for your career. It's just one element of who you are. Life planning is about creating a personalized roadmap for your future that's going to be really built on deep self-knowledge. It's not about having this rigid plan, like a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. Often when you do that, isn't going to survive the long term. And it doesn't even connect with reality when you eventually end up 5 years out. Instead, a life plan is actually quite flexible. It's a framework that's going to help you guide your decisions and all of your actions and resources. And it's really useful during times of transition, things like a job change. You can think of it as a map, and it's going to help you move with clarity, with confidence, rather than having you stuck in a point of indecision because you don't know which direction to go. It's the knowing what the end point is that's going to help you actually start moving. So the reason that life planning actually works is because it's going to replace your fears of this lack of clarity when your future feels very vague, and you're going to put a very concrete understanding of what you want. You're actually literally going to articulate it, map it out, visualize it. And so when you get clear on what your core values are, how they apply specifically to your work and to your life, of course, other domains of your life as well are part of life planning, but career very much has a spot in there as well. Well, those decisions about your career moves will become so much clearer. It's actually going to become a decision-making tool that allows you to filter in all the things that really truly matter to you so that you don't actually have to reinvent your decision process every time you have to make a new choice. You have this life plan to work off of. So life planning is an approach that recognizes that there are things in your life right now that you value, but you also want to intentionally evolve towards something else, your vision. And this life plan is basically going to be that bridge for that. When you think that there's this dichotomy of what you have right now and what you want, a life plan is really going to show you how to connect the two. So now if you're nodding your head and have listened this far, then you're probably ready to design a roadmap that's aligned with your values and your vision. And that's why I invite you to schedule a free exploratory call with me. My one-on-one life planning program helps high-achieving moms build a custom life plan. That is your individualized roadmap so that you can envision and plan and then take action in your career and also living out all of your aspirations that you have set in your heart. Now, we moms are often overwhelmed by everything that's on our plate. And that overwhelm can paralyze us, not just in taking action, but also paralyze us in our thinking. And then to top it off, we add all of that unnecessary pressure. We are just too overwhelmed to even think about doing something so bold as changing our careers, right? Even when we know that a shift will help us find that right balance to feel more fulfilled at home, at work. And we want these changes so that our family can get more than just our empty shells. Well, a life plan is going to eliminate all of that decision fatigue and mental load and help you move forward with confidence. Like I said, you're going to start filtering out all these things that really don't align with you anymore. And in doing so, you get so much clarity. And as you move forward with your life plan, you get more and more grounded in who you are, your values, your purpose. So if this is something that you want, especially to guide a career change, you want a clear path forward in your career for years to come, then take that free exploratory call with me. Just use that link in the show notes below. With that said, let's say that you still want to get started right now. You can do something during this episode, actually. So here's where I want you to start. Life planning starts with clarifying your core values. Now, I'm not just talking about for your work, I'm also talking about in general terms for your life. When you have explicit criteria for what matters to you most, these are your core values, then decisions about a career move are going to become so much clearer. So I want you to start by first identifying your top 5 core values and then assess how well your current career allows you to express each one of those 5. If you need help with understanding what a core value is and want a list of core values to review for inspiration, then you can actually download my Values Inventory Workbook for free. I have lots of ideas in there to really launch you into pinning down your core values and getting a small taste of life planning. You can get this at solveformom.com/resources. When you do this exercise of matching, you're going to see the point of disconnection. And it's going to give you clues about what you need to change. And then from there, you can start testing things out, like doing little things that you think might put you more aligned with your core values. You don't have to make a huge change. You don't actually have to make the full career change right away. Maybe you take a class or you talk to somebody who's in the career that you think you want to switch to. And when you see that those conversations or classes or whatever it is that you're going to do to experiment puts you closer to your core values and you feel more excited about it, or you also feel a little more normal, I would say, then you know that this might be the right direction for you. It's really simply to help you gauge whether the next couple steps you take are the right ones for you or not. Each time you do these little experiments and you filter it through these core values identified, you'll be gathering some more data, and that information is going to tell you something about yourself and about these choices that you're making. Remember, this isn't the life plan itself. It's just the tip of the iceberg, and it's going to get you thinking in the right direction. But if you want a fully developed and clear plan of action, then you're still going to want to check out my life planning coaching, which is where I've helped other mothers who have been in the same situation you are. So the purpose of this episode was to really address what to do when ambitious moms feel stuck and unfulfilled in their current careers. How do they make that change? And how do they do it in an intentional way? We want you to go from feeling uncertain or hesitant in your career to making any pivot that you need in your career in a very confident and aligned way, and one that moves you towards your vision. And so the first step is giving yourself permission. That stuck feeling is normal, believe it or not. Feeling trapped in the wrong job is a really common experience for ambitious moms, and it often stems from conflicting priorities that we have, especially between what our aspirations might be and obligations that we might have in other parts of our life. Now, the focus on shifting from fear-based decision-making to a values-driven one is for you to first get clarity about whether you should stay in your current role or pursue a career change. And in order to get that clarity, you really want to have a life plan. A life plan is truly a holistic plan of action. But if you need to get started, I also provided you with a simple values inventory exercise. It really should only take a couple of minutes, and in order to guide that exercise, I have a free downloadable workbook for you, and it'll walk you through all of the steps of that exercise. Again, you can get that at solveformom.com/resources. I want you to remember that the goal isn't simply to escape one bad situation. It's also that you need to move towards something that's going to be more aligned with who you are, that matters to you. Remember, if you want to go deeper, make sure to book that free exploratory call or engage in the resources that I mentioned to get that personalized guidance on your specific situation. Don't forget to tune in for the other 7 episodes that are going to be part of this series. And I would love it if you shared it with another ambitious mom who might also be considering a career change. And you guys could even do the values inventory exercise together. It might be great to get some objective feedback from a friend. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back with another episode soon. I hope today's episode will help you create time and freedom to pursue something you love to do. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe and tell other purpose-driven mamas about it. Who knows? You might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. I'll see you next week for another episode of Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life with Anoki Kapasi.